of course, Michael mentions Harvard and Columbia. Of course, some of you are wondering, how'd they let this jerk into the room? But I've made it my life's goal to make the admissions committees of those universities regret the day they ever admitted me. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to be here with you folks, and I do a lot of public speaking, but I have to ration my travel carefully because I leave behind a wonderful wife and 4 little children every time I leave. And the 4 little children range in age from 7 months to 7 years, and they're all girls. I'm not even going to make a joke, right? You could come up with much better ones than I could, right? But it's interesting to note, by the way, just how politically aware a 7-year-old can become without you even realizing it. And so, for example, just the other day, this is actually true. My 7-year-old, Regina, is having a discussion with a 7-year-old friend of hers, and this friend reads a lot of old-timey stories, like 19th century stories. And one of these stories involved purchasing some candy with a penny, like the idea of penny candy, which persisted into the 20th century, of course. And so her friend is saying to her, Regina, what do you think of this story? It seems silly to me because everybody knows a penny buys hardly anything. And Regina replied, yeah, thanks to the Fed. So she's listening in to my conversations. And the other thing the other day, now this is difficult because my wife is as outspoken as I am, but nevertheless, she has to interact with a lot of different mothers who have different political views, and she doesn't always want to be engaged in political debate, while she's food shopping or whatever. So I don't know where they were, but at one time, somebody asked my daughter, so Regina, they wanted to see how knowledgeable she was. Regina, do you know who the president is? And she said, Obama, and then paused and said, he likes to take people's money. My wife is just mortified at this. Like, how do I explain this away? What are you teaching this kid? They're going to take this kid away from us, for heaven's sake. But really, to be able to spend this time with you guys, it's really an honor for me because it is really a small sliver of humanity that on Labor Day weekend says, I think I'm going to go to a constitutional seminar. Amazing, wonderful, thank you. And you still have 2 perfectly good days to grill. It's fine. But you'll be grilling with giant brains because you came to this seminar. And man, a giant brain makes the best burger. I'm telling you. All right, well look folks, it is a testament to 3 things that we've been able to have a successful meeting like this on a day like this. First, again, to all of you, that you came here in complete defiance of the New York Times and MSNBC and the entire apparatus of fashionable opinion, which would forbid you to attend an event like this. This kind of topic is completely off the table. And that's why you're here. Isn't that wonderful? The more off the table it is, the more I want to know about it. Second, of course, these things don't just occur spontaneously. They occur because people put them together. We have great leaders like Michael Bolden, who's a guy from California who just started the 10th Amendment Center. And Trevor Lyman, also from WeRefuse.com. And then look at all the different groups who are co-sponsoring this event. All different kinds of groups, and some of them are 9/12 groups, some of them are Tea Party groups, some of them are entirely independent groups. We all came together, and we don't all agree with each other on everything. So, wonderful. All that means is we're not a cult. Good, okay? Fine. We have disagreements, but we share so much in common that it's wonderful that we are opening up the lines of communication with each other here. Because few enough are the people in this country who are prepared to stand up to the regime. Let's not let our petty squabbles get in the way of forming some friendships and some alliances. There is strength in numbers here. But thirdly, how do you put on an event like this, on a forbidden topic like this, The internet. Now, we all hear a lot of cliches about the internet has liberated this and that, but these aren't cliches, these are true. Until the internet, opinion was basically shaped by what are sometimes called gatekeepers, like the New York Times or MSNBC or all the official channels of opinion, and they sort of decide what the debates are going to be. So they'll decide that, well, we're allowed to debate should the top marginal federal tax rate be 39.1 or 39.0%. We're allowed to debate that. We peons are allowed to debate that subject. We can debate the form in which we're looted. Well, gee, should they loot us? Should they take half our income this way or that way? They're perfectly fine if that's what we're debating. But to bring something onto the table like this is unthinkable. That's why gatekeepers exist, is precisely to keep out ideas like this. Precisely to stop any attempt by the people to regain their liberties, and when you see the people get uppity, you immediately squash it. Oh, that's not respectable. Why? That's not a respectable idea. I mean, Newsweek doesn't even mention it. How respectable could it be? That's how they expect us to think. They expect us to think like zombies. But because of the internet, we're no longer giving them the satisfaction. Because the gatekeepers are still there. It's true, there's still a New York Times, at least for now. Ha ha ha. There's still an MSNBC and the whole apparatus. They're still there. The gates are still up, but thanks to the internet, the walls are down. You don't have to get your information from Pravda Central anymore. You can get it from sources you actually trust that'll tell you the truth. And so now we can bring up topics like this. Because we weren't going to learn about them in Newsweek or U.S. News and World Report or any of these papers. We weren't going to learn about them that way. We learn about them because we see a video about them on the internet. Or because we read some article on the internet. We're getting around the gatekeepers and making this possible. We have a way, in other words, to reach each other directly and not through the intermediaries of these people and institutions. So instead of wasting our time on the pointless debates that the gatekeepers would prefer, we can change the whole range of discussion. And that's, in effect, what made possible this recent upsurge of interest in state nullification. Now, let me give you just a capsule version of some of the stuff we've heard, but really with my own amplification. What we're talking about here are ideas that are eminently American, but which have fallen down the Orwellian memory hole. They're just down there, way, way, way down. And our overlords sort of assumed that we would never find them again. Because, as I say, Time magazine doesn't talk about them, so can the peons even remember that they exist? Well, see, what they forgot about us is that we have very, very long, retractable arms. We can reach down in there, fish around, and say, hey, what's in that Jeffersonian toolkit that they don't want me to know about? And pull it back up and learn about it. In 1798, we got two documents that are seminal in American history and that have been completely forgotten, and of course I mean the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions of 1798. Now the fact that that even gets applause is significant. 3 years ago, people would say, what in the world is this guy talking about? And I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't say, these people got a terrible education. I wouldn't blame them. That's the whole point, is to suppress documents like this. In fact, in 1998, 200 years later, does anybody recall Bill Clinton holding a White House soiree in honor of the 200th anniversary of these documents? No, of course not. You could hear crickets, right? There was no response whatsoever. But in those documents, we have, respectively, James Madison and Thomas Jefferson urging us that the states have a constitutional role to play. In the Virginia resolutions, we learned that when the federal government goes beyond its constitutional powers, that the states are duty-bound to resist. Now notice he didn't say, well, you might consider resisting, or maybe you could flip a coin, and if it comes up heads, you would resist. The states are duty-bound to resist. Thomas Jefferson, who drafted the Kentucky resolutions of 1798, in his initial draft, as well as in the follow-up resolutions of 1799, said that a nullification is the rightful remedy in a situation like this. So Jefferson came up with that word. It wasn't me. It wasn't any of us. It was Thomas Jefferson.